Hello everybody, Reggie Time here, and in this video we're going to be moving away from the 10-0 fast forward, and we're going to be reviewing some hands that I've played on Sky over the last 3 days, Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. We've got 7 hands in total to review. I think some of them are going to be interesting, some maybe not so interesting, but we'll skip through them. The last hand is going to be aesthetically unpleasing because this software doesn't like you if you raise limpers out of the big blind. It won't let you do it. So if you're in the big blind and it's limped to you, it doesn't give you the option to put the raise in. So fortunately the last video is going to be the last hand's going to be a bit unpleasant to look at, but compared to the rest of the video, but whatever, not much we can do about it. If you do like my content, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, the like, the shares, the subscribes, comment below. And yeah, get involved. Don't be afraid to come and join the Facebook group. It's growing all the time. More and more unique contributors all of the time. So yeah, come and get involved in that too. So let's get stuck into these hands. First hand, pocket sevens. And the minute I'm not remembering this one at all. I think I'm going to remember most of them, but this one, it's not ringing a bell. But maybe it will as the hand plays on. So we have a player raising under the gun. I bet we're going to flop a set. I bet that's what happens. I already now remember it. Which way around with these two players? I'll tell you in just a moment. Anyways, we flop a set on a monotone board. We check. Yeah, this guy was a regular. Yeah, this guy was a regular. This guy was a fish. So we've had a regular c-bet, fish raise, we're back to us on pocket sevens. And I think we have just 2 options here. Folding isn't one of them. You need to just call or raise to like try and get value now, protect our hand, etc. I think raising here over a bet and a raise is going to make it really quite difficult to get it in versus a worse hand. Maybe we get it in versus like overpairs with a club, like aces or kings with a club. Maybe we get it in against just the naked ace of clubs, or maybe naked king of clubs sometimes. But I kind of wanted to see a turn card, and I also wanted to see the turn action as well. So I just called, and a regular just called. Turn was a brick. Regular checks. Fish now like overbets the pot, and given that the flop had gone check, bet, raise, call, and then he's still bombed into, like, overbet bombed into 2 players, I didn't like it much. We were not closing the action. Seat 5, the regular, could absolutely be trapping here. He could also very likely just have a made hand that wasn't ready to fold. I think seat 5 is pretty likely to have an overpair. If anyone's got the overpair with the club, it's pretty likely to be seat 5 at this point. I think seat 9's going to have some made flushes for absolutely sure. Maybe sets of 10, sets of 4s. I don't think he's bluffing. And, some of you are going to jump out of your seats right now because I fucking hate folding sets, as you guys well know. And I can be a bit of a payoff wizard to the overbets. But I elected just to fold here, and it felt a bit shit and a bit nitty. But, we've got middle set on a monotone flop. I just didn't like it. Seat 5 can absolutely have 2 queens here too. As if you can have 2 aces and 2 kings of the club, you can have 2 queens of the club as well. I just didn't like the situation, and I just folded. Seat 5 folded, and we just lost the pot. It doesn't feel nice folding sets. It really doesn't. But given we've seen like a bet, a raise, a cold call, and an overcall, and then an overbet on the turn, I mean, I don't think it's the worst fold I'll ever make. We might well have folded the best hand there, but I'll make worse folds during my life, I would imagine. On to the next hand, we have an ace jack of spades. I don't remember this one yet either. I already do remember it. Seat 3 here he's got he hasn't got a full stack, but he is a regular. He plays regularly. He plays plenty of tables. He can, in my opinion, be something of a bit of a tilt monkey. I'm not entirely sure where he's at bankroll wise. Sometimes he's playing 50-0, other times he's not topping up at 20-0. I don't know what's going on with that, because he does use auto reload, so I'm not sure if he's just like really aggressive with his bankroll or what. I've no idea. He might be fucking loaded and just like rejoin the table and not click like the re-enable the auto reload, because on Sky, if you like leave a table, come back with a bigger stack, you have to re-enable. So if you leave the table and come back before like a certain amount of time's passed, it makes you join with your previous stack. And if you don't re-click the like enable auto top up when you do drop below the like the 100 blinds, it doesn't automatically top you up. So it could be any one of those three things. I'm certainly not going to speculate on his bankroll management, that's for sure, because I don't know enough about the guy. But anyways, he's a regular, he's aggressive, and he's something of a tilt monkey. And he just lost a biggish pot on this table, and I think he'd just been stacked on another table. So it felt like he might have been ready to go off. We raise under the gun with the ace jack suited. Get a call from a fish. And we're possibly tilted regular, puts a 3-bet in to 180. We're going nowhere just now with the ace jack, of course. Given that we think A, he might be tilting, B, we're ahead of his 3-bet in range, probably. Especially if he's a bit tilted, and C, we're going to hope to play a pot with the fish too. So we call, we flop top pair. He absolutely bombs. And again, I have no idea what this means. I mean, he might just have like a weakish ace be doing it, he might have a strong ace be doing it, he might just have a fucking airball and be doing it. But given that I think he might be tilting, then it makes it a much easier call. If he's got a full stack here and he seems to be playing solidly, this is much more difficult, and I think it's pushing much closer to a fold, although not with the backdoor spades on the flop. But we're not 100 blinds deep and he might be tilting, so it's very different. We make what I thought was an easy call. We turn a flush draw, he like insta jammed, and at this point, you know, we're getting good odds. If we are behind, you know, we're not getting directed to draw to a flush, but we've got 2 paired outs too. We've got 12 outs, which is good for what, like 25-26% equity. We need more than that here, I think. Not much more though. If there was like 24 in the pot, we'd be getting close to direct odds. So we're not quite getting the direct odds if we're behind, but we're not always going to be behind, and I elected to call. We were behind, but fortunately we got the suck out, and he left the table instantly after that. So my guess is he was tilting, but we just managed to finish him off with the suck out. Next hand, this is a heads up hand at 30-L versus a, how do I want to describe him? Let me choose my words carefully. Pretty sure he watches the channel. He's regularly unpleasant, wouldn't be the word. He rubs it in when he stacks. I mean, this guy's a fish. He's a losing player, unquestionably. He claims he's not, but he without doubt is. He's not a good player. He's like, I'd say he's like a good fish, I would say. Like, he's definitely a losing player, definitely good value to have at the tables long term. He doesn't like spunk money off left, right and centre very often, but he just doesn't play that well. Certainly not as well as like other people who play as much as he does play. And then on top of that, he's forever needling me. He like, we were playing him heads up once before, and he was keeping score in the chat, like 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. Like, oh, I've won, yeah, I'm 11-1 up or whatever. He was just talking utter nonsense, and he seems to judge poker success by how many pots you win, and perhaps not by how much money you win. I don't know. He's a weird guy. So yeah, there's definitely some history between us. He'd gone all in twice pre-flop, or maybe even 3 times. I'd been min raising the button. He'd gone all in 2 or 3 times. Then he'd raised to 240 a few times. He had all kinds of weird, different 3-bet sizes. He was 3-betting with a reasonable frequency. All kinds of sizes. His sizing was all over the map. We min raised again. He 3-bets to 180 this time, which is his smallest 3-bet to date. We just call. We flop a set. He checks. And I do something I wouldn't normally do here. I was hoping he was kind of setting a trap for me. I was hoping he had like the aces, kings, queens, that type of thing. I was hoping he was setting a trap. I don't think. I mean, I think he's either going to be check folding or not folding a decent amount of time on this board, and that sounds fucking ridiculous. I'm going to put it better. I don't think my sizing's going to like change how he plays the hand very often. If I bet 1 of 50 here, or if I bet £7 here, maybe that's a bit extreme. But you know what I mean. He's either got a hand, if he's trapping me, then he's not folding, and if he's not trapping me, then he's probably folding for any reasonable size. Maybe we make it small enough he peels with like 2 overcards. So anyway, I decided to go pretty big, and I overbet the pot. And he called. So at this point, I'm pretty sure he's got something. I mean, people don't just check call 150% pot size bets with air very often. I guess maybe ace king, ace queen if he's feeling really stubborn. But I also think this guy 3-bets to a bigger sizing with them to try and generate more fold equity. So anyways, turn comes down to king. We're still really loving our hand. Maybe he's got pocket kings. If he has, then fuck our lives. And the hand has crashed, so we shall need to reload it. Oops, there we are. Get to the turn. So turn comes the king. He checks. We bet 960 this time. He ships it in our face. So now I'm just hoping, obviously, we're not trapped with pocket kings. We're never going to fold. I was tempted to slow roll him, but I didn't, of course. We just called immediately. And he was just doing something utterly insane with 2 tens. Don't hate his flop line. You know, if he thinks I'm going to be too aggressive with him, which I'm not, but he might think I am. So don't hate his flop line at check calling the overbet. I think that's completely fine. But check jamming the turn king with pocket tens. And with a club, which is like blocking our draw. He's fucked the whole hand up. It was very nice, and he instantly quit after the session. And after this hand, sorry. And it was nice. It's nice to take a £100 pot down against somebody who sees himself as your rival. So therefore, in my mind, he's something of a nemesis too. So that was pleasant. I really enjoyed that. That was like winning a £200 pot. I proper enjoyed it. This is a hand from tonight. It's a very juicy table. This guy was a fish, and then these guys are 2 regulars. Fishy guy opens under the gun. We 3-bet to isolate, or to try and isolate him. We completely failed in the mission to isolate. And we get the Jack 10 4 flop. Checks through. I decided to check back 2. I just don't think we're getting through 4 players on this board. 10 Jack X. You know, it kind of hits people's pre-flop calling ranges quite a lot. They're not going to fold many pocket pairs for 1 bet. People tend to have a lot of 10x, Jack X in these situations. I didn't think I could get enough fold equity by betting. I didn't want to bet big, then be put into a tough test with a raise, which you'd probably have to call off just on a draw. So, to be frank, I just wimped out a little bit and checked back. Turn the nuts, which is pleasant. Bet £6.60. And 1 caller from the super fishy guy, who also quite aggressive too. And then he checks a river. So now it's just like a sizing issue. We have the nuts. We can't go wrong. What do we do? Do we go with the overbet jam and just hope he's got 2 pair, like Jack 9, Jack 10, set of 9s maybe? Who knows what? Or do we go with the small bet and just hope to get a crying call from just a single Jack or a single 10? Or maybe now and again, just maybe once in a while, he sees the small bet as weakness and goes for the jam. I elected to go with the small bet, and sadly he folded, but still a nice pot to drag down a £30 pot with the nuts. And I think the interesting point there was a river. Do you go with the overbet and just hope he's got 2 pair plus, or do you go with the small bet and hope to get the crying call or the raise? And I think overall, I think the small bet's just a bit better. I like overbetting, but I think it wouldn't be much of an overbet anyway. I think I prefer the smaller bet in general there. It allows me to go for thin value with Jack X that have checked back on the flop, and we also maybe sometimes induce some spew. This hand we have a 10-9 suited. It's going to go multi-way again. We raise to isolate, and again we spectacularly fail with our isolation attempt, which is often the way on Sky. We flop top pair. Min donk and a call. I think our hand isn't really strong enough to raise it. I'd probably be checking this back in a like heavily multi-way pot like we are. I don't think I'd be betting here. If I was, I would only be betting like really small, like 1/3 pot or something like that. And I'm not even sure that's very good. Most of the time I would be checking back. So with that in mind, I just elected to call. It's going to be disappointed if we get raised, but we probably would just fold to a raise in a multi-way pot. Anyway, everyone calls. Turn, min bet again. Fold, we call. He folds. His dude calls. And then we river the virtual nuts. And he bets into us now like full pot jams. And the question here is, do we just call here and hopefully get a loose overcall by seat 1, who if seat 1 has got a 6, then he's going to be hard push to fold it. If we jam, I think he folds a 6. If we call, maybe he calls a 6 too. So do we call here and hope that seat 1 overcalls, or do we just jam and hope seat 1 still calls with a 6? I guess if we jam and seat 1 calls, seat 1's going to have a 10, it's going to be a chop anyway. So I think it's a pretty easy decision to just call here. And then obviously if seat 1 jams, you just call and hope we don't have quads. So we did call. Seat 1 got out of the way. And seat 3 showed a beautiful king queen offsuit. Limped pot here. We flop 2 pairs. We pot it. C8 calls, who is a fish. We turn a flush draw to go with our 2 pairs. We pot it again. He calls. We river a flush. I elect to go with the smaller bet size here to just try and get the call from King X. Or if he has somehow like got better than just King X, we still get the call. If he's got like King 7, King 8, which obviously we block pretty hard, or if he's like been slow playing something massive on the flop that obviously hasn't improved, if he's had like some kind of set or something. So I went with the £5 10 bet. Our opponent min raises, and when we get min raised on the river by a fish, it is never a bluff. Literally never a bluff. So the decision here is he overvaluing a worse hand? And can we like jam for value? Or are we just so unlikely to get called by a worse hand? I mean, if he's got like a set of kings that he's finally decided to set the trap with, he's not going to fold them for sure. But I don't think he has kings ready. I think it's very unlikely that he has kings, doesn't raise pre, doesn't raise flop, doesn't raise turn. I think that's incredibly unlikely. I just wimped out in the end, I'll be honest. I just didn't think I could get called by worse often enough to make jamming a worthwhile thing. He could maybe have some better flushes, seems very unlikely. But I just don't think, if we jam, very rarely we're going to get called by a hand that 8 high flushes beating. So I just called. I did river the king jack, and maybe he calls if we raise again with the top 2. Maybe he's bad enough to call there. I don't know. Because given that the way we played the hand, we don't rate to have a flush very often either, because we did like lots of betting before the flush got there. We were back potting the flop, potting the turn. So maybe he wouldn't have put us on a flush and just like called us thinking he had the best hand, who knows. But we elected just to call, and we won that pot too. So now we're going to go into where the video is going to start getting a little bit ugly, because we're back to this and we're going to have to blank all these names out here. I guess it doesn't matter that we see his name because it's at a different table and we're not going to see anything from that table. And I guess we don't have to like blank this one out, but we're going to have to blank all these ones. So anyway, I had to do this because, like I said, we're gonna raise this limp in the big blind from the small blind, and it won't let us do that on Poker Hand Replayer, unfortunately. So we 4x versus a limp. We flop trips, check. We bet reasonable sizing. He calls, turn to deuce. He checks again. Bet again, and he min raises us. And much like the last hand, when fish do the min raise on the river thing or the check min raise turn, he is not doing this with a draw. This is unquestionably value, but what value is it? Is it a worse 8, 7, 8, 9, 8, 10, 8? You know, there's plenty of worse 8s he can have. Then his 6 is full, maybe his turn deuces. But it's value. It's never a bluff. It's always value. But I think we're ahead of enough of his value range here where we're clearly going to have to continue in the hand. It's just whether do we call here and see what happens on the river, or do we just jam now and hope he's got like 8-7 and stuff and is drawing really dead or drawing close to dead. Because I like to be a trappy little fucker. I called, and then the river's a 3 of hearts, and our friend here now overbet jams, and all of a sudden I'm not as enthused with my hand. I still think though it's too strong to fold because I don't put him on bluffs on the turn, so I don't think he's got a heart draw here. I don't think he's got a flush. I think he's got 8x in some way, 6s and deuces. So there's like whatever, it's like 6 combos of full houses of like 6s and deuces. And then he's got how many combinations of like 8x. So we lose to King 8 and Ace 8, we beat Jack 8, we beat 10 8, 9 8, 7 8, 5 8, you know. In the end I just thought, I mean, we pay off these overbets too often, I think, or I certainly do anyway. And all too often when I'm paying off an overbet and being shown a winning hand, it just felt here that we're ahead of enough of his value range. I don't think he's bluffing, but I think we're ahead of enough of his value range where we just have to call. So I did, and he showed us a 6-8 offsuit and dragged down a big pot. And this was like right at the end of his session. I was just about to call it quits. I was up like 60 quid for the session at this point, or near enough 60 quid. And yeah, it was a sad way to end the session, but what are we going to do? Not much, I guess. I don't recall calling many overbets on videos and us having the winning hand. I think a few people comment more than once that they think I perhaps called too many overbets, and they're quite possibly right because they're not bluffs, or they're so rare, well, very rarely bluffs. And I think I could certainly find some folds to overbet some of the time, but I just don't think I can to this one because we beat enough of his value range, in my opinion. And maybe now and again he is just bluffing with like missed spades. Seems super unlikely, but there is the random spew fact that he maybe, you know, 4 or 5 times in 100 has some random spew here, as well as a value hand we beat. Yeah, we're going to lose to some of his hands. I thought 6 is full and deuce is full were the most likely, of course. Didn't think he'd have the 8-6 offsuit, but never mind, he did, and we lost the pot. So how does that put our results so far for the month? Well, here we are with it. We played 12 sessions so far, for a total of 16 hours. Again, this little blip, I'm not sure why it never counts the first session, but for some reason it doesn't. And we've made £152 so far in the first 6 days of the month, which puts us well on course to achieve our £600 for the month. It's not a guarantee we're going to do it, of course, but it puts us well on course for it. And bearing in mind, within these like 16 hours, we've had like an £88 losing session on Sunday. Then I'm really quite pleased. Out of the 12 sessions we've played, I've won 10 of them. We've had like an 88 session loss, and then it's a £6 session loss. So yeah, things are going pretty well. I can't complain too much. We've got this going on. We've also got the 10NL Party Poker like filler videos going on, so we can hopefully try and produce 4 or 5 videos per week going forward. And yeah, it's going okay. Can't complain. It's disappointing. That last pot's disappointing. We would have been up at nearly £200 profit had we not lost that one. But if my auntie had a dick, she'd be my uncle, wouldn't she? So you can't complain too much. Really pleased with how it's going. Happy with the amount of content to produce, and hope you guys are too. And yeah, I think we'll leave it there. Next video is probably going to be another party poker video, but who knows. Take care, everybody, and bye bye for now.